Hey everyone, welcome to the premiere episode of Transpiled Bytes. I'm your host, Joshua Kress. My mission here is simple: transpile tech complexity into easy to digest bytes. Getting NVM to work in the Fish shell can be a bit tricky. On this first ever episode, I'll walk you through a quick and reliable way to get NVM working in the Fish shell. Let's get started. Here we are in our Fish shell. Now, we're going to start with installing Brew. Brew is a package manager. If you already have it installed, we'll just do a Brew Upgrade. But if you don't have it installed, I'll go ahead and show you how to do that now. We'll get that installed and we'll use Brew to install NVM. Now, for the installation of Homebrew, I'll just click over here to the Homebrew website. And there's a command we're just going to copy here. Go back to our terminal and go ahead and just paste that in. Now, I already have it installed, but I'm going to go ahead and run it anyway, just so you can see what the output of the command is for the installation. Great. Now we have Brew installed. And again, like I said earlier, if you already have Brew installed, you'll just want to do a Brew Upgrade. And for us, it's not going to take long at all because we just installed it. But if you haven't installed it, or you already had it installed and haven't done an upgrade in a while, it might take a minute. All right, we've got Brew installed. Now let's go ahead and install NVM, our node version manager, with Brew. So Brew install NVM. Great, I already have Brew installed. Let's go ahead and uninstall it, just so you'll be able to see what it looks like when we do the full installation. Okay, now let's rerun that same command. There'll be a bit of output here. We can disregard most of it. A couple of things to note here. It's obviously saying that NVM via Homebrew is unsupported. This is the way I've chose to do it. It works for me. If you have any issues, as it suggests here, just to kind of check with the normal process before reporting any errors. The other thing we want to note here is that we need to make a directory for NVM. Now, in this NVM directory, it'll store NVM versions and aliases. It's also telling us how to set up our profile. We're using the Fish shell, not Bash, obviously. So there'll be some setup we'll do later in our FishConfig. So for now, let's go ahead and just create that NVM directory. So you do make dir NVM. Great. And this is in our home directory. All right. Once that's created, we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to be using Bass. Now, not to be confused with Bash. Or the Fish. This is a utility that helps us use Bash utilities in the Fish shell. Now we're just going to go ahead and clone it from GitHub. Now we're going to clone this into a temp directory for now. And I'll go back to my browser here really quick. And you'll see here on GitHub, this Bass repository, right? We can just copy the HTTPS link here. And then we can just pop back over to our browser, or our terminal. And now I'm going to clone this repository into /temp. You can clone it to wherever you'd like. What we're going to do here is use get, clone, and there it is already. I've done this once before. So like I said, we're going to install it in the temp Bass directory. Great. Now we've got Bass cloned here. And then what we're going to do is just cd into that temp folder. Once we're in here, we're going to just do an ls here, so we can see there's a make file in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a make. Oops. We're going to do a make install, and it's going to install two functions into our, as you can see here, the config fish functions directory. Great. That's it. That's all we need Bass for. We could go ahead and now delete this directory. I'm just going to go ahead and cd back to my home directory. Now the next step is going to be configuring the FishConfig file. I've gone ahead and deleted everything out of my FishConfig file just to avoid any confusion. So we'll go ahead and open that file up, and then we're going to go ahead and paste the configuration in there. Now I'll go ahead and put the configuration right into the show notes here. And there's also a document on Medium that I wrote. You can also reference it there. Okay, let's just scroll down here a minute. And here's the configuration that we're going to go ahead and use. As you can read here, this will create a new nvm function that leverages bash to run nvm. Additionally, we're going to export the nvm directory environment variable, which is going to point to the nvm directory we created earlier. And then we're going to ensure that nvm uses the default version whenever we start a new shell. Also note here that the --s silent flag will suppress any output when that nvm command is run when the shell starts. Let's go back to the browser here. I'll just copy this first because we'll just copy and paste it right on in there. All right, so from here, we're going to use whatever editor you want. We can use VS Code here. So we'll go ahead and open up this file. And we'll go ahead and just paste that in here. Go ahead and save that file. And we can just go ahead and close. All right, let's move on. Now that our config has been updated, we just need to source the config file. And now we can start using nvm. First, we'll go ahead and use nvm to install our latest version that has long-term support. And there we go. You see it's downloading and installing node version 18.18.1. Great. Now we've got our first version installed. If you want to install a specific version like 16.22, we can just do nvm install and then, install and then the version number 16.20.2. Simple as that. Now, if we just want to install the latest version of nvm, we can just do an nvm install node. This will install whatever the latest version is, and today it's 20.8.0. Now that we have a few different versions installed, we can run the command nvm.ls just to see which versions we have installed locally. You can also run nvm-ls-remote to see all the remote versions, all the versions that are available for us to download. I'll just give it a scroll back up here really quick. All right. Now that we have a few different versions installed, if you want to use a specific version, you just use the command nvm use, like we saw in the example earlier, and that specific version, whether it's 16.22, 18.18.1, or any other version that we already have installed. So for now, we can use that version, 16.20.2. Great. And if you want to use just the default version, nvm use default. And that's it, folks. You've successfully set up nvm in the Fish shell. If you have any questions, just drop them below, and don't forget to subscribe to Transpiled Bytes for more tutorials. Take care.